The KEEL Morning Show.
Good morning. It's 3 past 6 o'clock. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Down yonder, all bundled up. Erin has local news up next.
Hold the show on sailing south for a local riverboat. We'll talk more about that. Could the boats be expanding? That's coming up, too. And the MPC in a big-time legal fight. We'll have the latest.
You know what somebody told me last night? The best thing for the boats to do is turn. This is awesome. Turn the garages into the casinos. Mm-hmm. Turn the casinos into the garage.
Oh, good idea.
I thought so. And I have an FB question, a Facebook question for our digital expert, producer Matt Parker.
It's going to be Maddie.
Fletcher and sports and traffic and weather, and it's all coming up this hour, and it's right here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
The state Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jack's Casino in Bossier City move to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The final vote was 15-18. Meantime, the Senate okayed a bill to let riverboat casinos expand their operations on land. Franklin Senator Brett Allain says he can't support the legislation because it's an expansion of gaming.
27,850, and they've got 879 positions. If this bill passes, they would be able to go to 2365. If that's not an expansion, I don't know what it is.
Louisiana, the only state that requires floating gambling halls to keep all gaming operations on water. Lawsuit soon to be filed against the MPC, the city, and the parish.
Well, listen, this is my personal opinion, okay? I'm not the attorney for the board anymore, obviously, because I'm serving in Congress, but I used to be.
She experienced beginning in...
Her story to folks who are not familiar.
Well, my client is a long-term... And that today at the city council meeting, there's an ordinance that's going to be considered leadership.
Allison Jones, local attorney, thank you so much. To an earlier shooting from this week, the victim is expected to recover. Shreveport police say one man is dead after being hit while riding his bike on Hillary Huckabee. The bike rider apparently turned in front of a pickup truck and was hit and thrown from the bike. A woman driving a minivan then ran over him, killing him. Pedestrian killed in Bossier. The man is dead while walking on Barksdale Boulevard. He was trying to cross the road when he was hit by a car. A man's been arrested in a hit-and-run crash. Matt Parker with that.
Caddo Sheriff's deputies have arrested Steve Brown in connection with a hit-and-run accident on Wells Island Road. According to deputies, Brown called the sheriff's office 3 times, once to claim his truck was stolen, once to say he found it abandoned, and once to say he found a woman in a ditch. An investigation into the incident shows that Brown allegedly made up the story to cover up hitting the woman and fleeing the scene. He has been arrested on multiple charges, including felony hit-and-run. The victim is recovering from her injuries. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Former Explo Systems exec pleads guilty. Lionel Coons, who was an inventory control manager, pled guilty to 1 count of making a false claim to the Joint Munitions Command. Coons was indicted on 31 counts related to the improperly stored explosives. An alleged bank robber busted. Mark Longenecker taken into custody by police at a home on Olive Street. He's accused in the robbing of the Regents Bank on Pines Road Monday. Attorneys still seeking justice for Glenn Ford, a local man who spent nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he didn't commit. Before Ford's death, several lawsuits were filed on his behalf. The city council held a closed-door meeting Tuesday to discuss the case. Teachers' strike in Kentucky that led to increased funding and higher pay inspired education walkouts and work stoppages across the South. Federation of Teachers spokesman Les Landon says it's not just about winning a bigger paycheck.
Around the country, teachers are worried about their salaries not keeping up, but also that schools aren't being supported in the way they need to be.
No details yet on the vote count from the LFT. A 15-week abortion ban passes in the Senate on a 31-3 vote. The bill mirrors a Mississippi law recently passed that's been halted by a federal judge. Shreveport Senator John Milkovich says he's well aware his potential law will lead to an expensive court battle, but it's a price he's willing to pay.
I realize it could be stayed, but if we can save 50, 20, 100 babies, I think it's worth it.
The Supreme Court saving one of its biggest cases for last. The justice is hearing arguments today over President Trump's ban on travelers from several mostly Muslim countries. And a Florida high school student in a firestorm after his promposal goes viral. He made a sign that said, quote, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you for prom." School officials have spoken to the student and his parents and say they do not condone or support the student's message. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Ten past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL traffic update for Wednesday. Here's Ruben.
We're starting things off nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on North Market near North Hearn Avenue. If you know something we don't, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today, sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Good morning. It's 12 past 6 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. You think that the house is now that the house is coming together.
This is the worst part,
that
though.
Everything you own it's like you moved into the house for the first time.
Yeah. And then, Matt said something positive, which is very rare.
He's going to come help?
No,
hell
he didn't
Not-
say that.
Not that positive.
He said, look at it this way.
Yes.
You'll never have to have your stuff boxed up again. You'll never have to do this again.
Well, you will, but you'll be dead.
It won't be me doing it.
Exactly
It
right.
won't be me.
It'll be the kids fighting over who gets your
I'm never planning to move again, and I'm going to get everything just like I want it.
And you'll never
so I'll
have,
never
this is gonna be
have
awesome.
to do this again. By the way, Matt, would you like a whole pile of Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
No.
Because I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm like, who wants that?
Why did you have it?
Because it was my kids. It was in their stuff.
Take it to Second and Charles, get a little bit of money, and buy some movies or a laptop or something.
Does somebody really want old Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Oh, yeah, there's a market for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give it to you. You go sell it. I don't care. I don't want it. I'm just
I
going
don't
to put it in
wanna
the
put
dump.
in that effort.
See, that's the thing. I don't want to go take it somewhere and get
throw it
$20.
Then throw it away.
So I'm going to put it in a dumpster.
Or leave it in the upstairs, leave it in the spare room for another 25
Nothing's
years.
going back upstairs that I don't absolutely need.
Why did Mom have these Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
They know why Mom. Mom had them.
And 30 versions of Monopoly.
Okay, let's get to Mike Johnson. We had the congressman on yesterday talking about the new Bossier Parish School System prayer policy on religion. And it's, well, you'll hear us talk about it in the interview. Some of the rules, what the teachers can and can't do specifically, like don't accidentally bow your head, which was the genesis of my idea to get them all neck braces. If all the Bossier teachers are mandated by the higher-ups to wear neck braces, they'll never have to worry about being sued by the atheist groups for bowing their heads and endorsing prayer. That's not exactly where we started with Mr. Mike, and it was basically, you've seen it, you've read it, what do you think?
Well, listen, this is my personal opinion, okay? I'm not the attorney for the board anymore, obviously, because I'm serving in Congress, but I used to be their attorney on a number of these matters, and I did this all around the country. And you're right, this other group was one of our nemesis organizations. They have a radical view of the country, and they're on a search and destroy mission for all things religious. But, you know, I mean, I did this for nearly 20 years, as you guys know. I fought landmark religious liberty battles successfully in federal courts around the country, and you know, for most of my career, I was a senior attorney for the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is America's largest religious liberty defense organization. Our mission there was to keep the door open for the spread of the gospel. So that's my perspective and my viewpoint. You should know that. And you know, we fought tooth and nail on every single issue over all those years where there was a hint of any small chance to defend or advance religious freedom, and we won 90% of our cases. But what we got, and, you know, I previously represented Bossier. I mean, in the 2005 case at Stockwell Place, they were challenged for the nativity scene display and equal access for Christian clubs. We won that one. In 2015, you know, people remember ACLU. The ACLU went after Airline High School because the FCA had a prayer request box in the student display area, and the principal used God bless you in an email. Everybody remembers that. So we fought there because we knew we were right on the law and the facts and that we could prevail in court. Right now, we've got a different situation, and this is what people have to recognize, that this latest case is different because the plaintiffs here, they gathered more than 5,000 pages and recordings of school documents under a Freedom of Information Act request before they filed the suit. And they presented all this hard evidence to the court of clear violations of very well-established law. Now, let me clarify this by saying, guys, this is not what we think the law should be, okay? That's not the question. The question is, what is the current state of the law, whether we agree with it or not? And in the school district, they had to answer the lawsuit under oath, so they had no choice but to admit to the well-documented facts. And they had no choice but to update their written policies. They're under, you know, under penalty of law here. This is what the courts require. They have zero choice in the matter. So if anybody's upset with the school district or school board officials, their frustration is misplaced. It needs to be on the courts and what's happened in the courts over the last, you know, 50, 60 years. That's
Does
the
this
problem here.
policy change? Is it going to satisfy the lawsuit, do you think?
I think it moots the lawsuit, and it's exactly, you know, precisely what the district had to do. They had no choice in it. You know, people say, why don't they just keep, you know, fighting this in court? Why don't they keep litigating? Well, Erin, this is a really important point. Now, people have to understand the board is fighting vigorously on every available inch of ground to preserve religious freedom for the students, right? The board members ought to be applauded for those efforts. But if you fight on well-settled points of law, you know, teachers praying with students, for example, that issue was decided by the courts 60 years ago, 50 years ago. If you fight on it, it's totally futile. It's even counterproductive because consider this. If they keep fighting, they're going to risk, number one, a terrible court precedent that could be used as a weapon by atheist litigation groups, as some new weapon in their arsenal to further attack and erode students' rights to religious expression. And number two, it could risk an enormous adverse attorney fee award, and taxpayer dollars are scarce in this parish as elsewhere. And that attorney fee award goes to the atheist groups when they win. That'll just be used by the groups to further advance their radical secularist agenda nationwide. So why in the world would we want to contribute to that as taxpayers out here? And then third, it creates further confusion. You know, we've got a lot of well-intended students and parents, teachers, coaches, school officials in our area. They genuinely want to understand and support students' rights and uphold these cherished traditions in every way that's legally possible. When you obscure the matter, it makes it more difficult for everybody. So I'm just saying, this board, they have no choice in this matter. They are stuck. The law is the law, whether we like it or not. And there's ways to change the law, but we got to do it through the courts, and it's going to take us decades to turn back this tide.
Mr. Mike, to what degree do you think that the Bossier, that the school boards, that the school district's legal counsel went in writing that policy?
They went right up to the line that they were forced to go by the court precedent. I mean, guys, if we had time, I could walk you through all these courses. I mean, for decades, there were volumes of case law specifically prohibiting teachers and coaches from leading or participating in student prayers. I mean, Lee versus Wiseman, Supreme Court, 1992, Abington v. Shemp, 1963.
Pardon me, my question was going to be, I mean, when you get into such hair-splitting detail as if a student is praying or students are praying, that teachers on the scene can't bow their heads, are there instances of this kind of hair-splitting detail, to use my term again, in other districts and other cases around the country, or is this a first?
No, it's been well decided in many cases, and in the Fifth Circuit. That's the important point. We're in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. That's the last step before you go to the Supreme Court. So we have Supreme Court precedent and Fifth Circuit Court precedent that requires this. But what does it mean in common practice? That's the big question of the morning, right? I had a public school teacher in Bossier stop me at church on Sunday, and she said, what if I'm standing along the wall of the gym during a genuinely student-led, student-initiated prayer? Does this mean I can't bow my head anymore? And I said, look, the answer is that common sense has to be applied in every situation, right? That the written policy prohibits teacher participation in prayer because the Supreme Court and the Fifth Circuit say it must do that, right? But here's the thing. You have to apply common sense. The question is, the courts have said that teachers and coaches and all that can show respect and deference, quote unquote, to student religious beliefs. Is quietly bowing your head while you're standing along the back wall of the gym showing reverence and respect, or does it cross the line into a so-called state endorsement of religion? The courts use a reasonable observer analysis. What would a reasonable observer see in that simple act? Would they say that that's an endorsement, a state endorsement of religion? Or would, I think we could argue, a reasonable person would see that as a personal act of reverence and respect. And I don't know if a plaintiff would file a suit over that subtle thing. I think it would be crazy if they did. But if we had that case in isolation, man, we'd fight tooth and nail on it. But the problem is we have this long trail of facts that these districts have to deal with, and they just simply don't have a choice. They have to follow the law because they've taken an oath to do that. And so, any frustration, again, is directed towards the courts, not to the public officials who are having to abide by this stuff. They don't like it any more than any of the rest of us.
Mike, let me ask you, there's one piece of this that troubles me, and it's regarding reading the Bible. It says that students can read the Bible or other religious texts before or after school hours, during lunch or recess, or during time set aside for student club meetings. So if my son or daughter finishes their work during class and decides to pull out the Bible and start reading the Bible during class, that's illegal.
No. That's not illegal. And what the policy is saying is, where the courts are on that, they say Bible reading, private religious expression, totally fine if it's on their own time. In other words, you can't pull out your Bible in the middle of an algebra assignment and say you want to do that instead, right? I mean, that's just common sense. But if they're on their own time, they always have the right. And that's the important point here, Erin.
But it says permitted before or after school hours only. That's why I'm like, why'd they have to pin it down? You follow me?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, look, I don't have the language in front of me, but the district is very clear and very resolved. They're going to defend students' rights every inch. And that's, we've had assemblies out there. They're promoting the materials. Attorney General Jeff Landry and I published the Louisiana Students' Rights Review to hammer that point home. They sent it around to in Bossier, they sent it around to every family in the school district to say these are students' rights. They're vigorously defending them. So, students don't shed their constitutional rights at the schoolhouse gate. That's an axiom in the law that's been there since the 60s. So they're going to vigorously defend that. They're doing the best they can under a difficult situation. I know the board members in Bossier and Webster, for that matter. Look, most of these people are Bible-thumping evangelicals, okay? They don't want to do this. Their hands are tied by activist courts. And, guys, this is a battle that we've been waging for decades. It goes back to the 60s. We've lost a lot of those. And the reason we lost is because people of faith, basically allowed it to happen. The church effectively was asleep at the wheel for several decades. So here we are. How do we change it? Elections have consequences. You have to elect presidents who believe in the Constitution, who are conservative, who will appoint conservative judges, and then we gradually turn back the tide in the courts. There's some hope that we can do that now, but it's not going to happen overnight. In the meantime, public officials, they take an oath to uphold the Constitution and respect the law. They have no choice in the matter, and that's where this situation is.
24 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Traffic time. Ruben's here.
Everything still looks nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Airline Drive near East Texas Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
Twenty-six past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. In LHSAA boys playoff action yesterday, North DeSoto knocked off Lakeshore 11-1. Northwood doubled up Livonia 10-5. Benton squeaked by Pearl River 3-2. Not so good news for Minden, knocked off by Warren Easton 8-3. Airline was bounced by Sulphur 6-5. And Houghton's playoff run ends early, losing to Lafayette 8-4. Northwestern State scored 8 runs in the first inning on the way to a 21-0 throttling of Mississippi Valley State. Quan Atkins led off the game with a homer and was joined in the Demon Dinger chorus by Houghton alum Sam Wallace and David Fry, who finished 5 for 5 with 6 RBI and a school record-tying 3 doubles. LSU snapped a 4-game skid with an 8-0 shutout of visiting Lamar. Freshman A.J. Labis went the distance for Pulmonary, becoming the first Tiger to throw a midweek game shutout in nearly 7 years. Sophomore Josh Smith returned from a back injury that shelved him since February 18th. He had a pair of hits, including a homer. Louisiana Tech's 5-game winning streak came to a halt at home last night to ULL. The Cajuns picked up a 9-4 win, thanks largely to Bulldog miscues. Tech starter David Leal committed 3 errors in the first 2 innings that helped lead to 3 Cajun runs. In Major League Baseball, the Angels beat the Astros 8-7. The Rangers were knocked off by Oakland 3-2. In the NBA playoffs, Golden State advanced with a 99-91 win over San Antonio. Boston now leads their series 3-2 after beating Milwaukee, and the Sixers have wrapped up their series with Miami with a 104-91 win. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Went a little long with Mr. Mike, so a short segment here. Diamond Jacks, it would appear, will not. I mean, is this like nail in the coffin? What's the deal?
Well, it's the Senate. I guess it could go back to the House and get approved there and then sent back. My question would be, if Diamond Jacks really, they're not successful here and they really want to move.
Basically, the state Senate, has the Louisiana legislature said, rather than let you move and succeed, you will die on the hill that is Bossier City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Too bad for you.
Do they pull up stakes here and just say, sorry, it's not profitable here, so we're done, and then give up that 15th license? I can't imagine them give up the license. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But they're not going south. Is Monroe out of the picture? They were talking about going east also.
They've decided not to let Diamond Jacks move locations. Now it was a 15-18 vote. So being a connoisseur of Senate votes, they could bring that back up. When it's such a narrow margin.
Right.
I have seen them sneak it in on a day when maybe 2 or 3 are absent, or somebody's out of the chamber, and that could happen. So just keep that in mind. That's not out of the question. So, and it could come up again on the House side.
And there are some other parts of other things that are coming out of the Senate as refers or as pertains to gaming.
Yeah, riverboat expansion.
Yeah, well, okay, but if you're El Dorado, if you're Samstown, if you're Horseshoe, where are you going to put a land-based casino? There's no room.
You made a good point. Your parking garage. Turn your parking garage into your casino.
And turn your casino into a garage. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Traffic time just ahead of local news. Here's Ruben.
Everything still looks nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Airline Drive near East Texas Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Value. power of information. KEEL News now.
The state Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jack's Casino move from Bossier City to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The final vote was 15-18. Meantime, the Senate did okay a measure to let the riverboat casinos expand their operations on land. Metairie Senator Danny Martini says the bill allows the boats to invest more into their properties, which will bring more tax money to the state.
We've got an industry that's providing us with income, thank God. And everybody that's against it sure doesn't shy away from coming to appropriations and asking for some of that money.
Louisiana, the only state that requires floating gambling halls to keep all their gaming operations over water. A bike accident leaves one dead. Matt Parker with that.
Shreveport police say one man is dead after being hit while riding his bike Tuesday night on Hillary Huckabee. Police say the bike rider turned in front of a pickup truck and was hit and thrown from the bike. A woman driving a minivan then ran over the man, killing him. Police say both drivers are cooperating and they don't believe drugs or alcohol was a factor in the crash. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
A pedestrian is killed in Bossier. A man is dead after being hit while walking on Barksdale Boulevard last night. Police say the man was attempting to cross the road when he was hit by a car, killing him instantly. A former Explo Systems exec pleads guilty. Lionel Coons, who was an inventory control manager for the company, pled guilty to one count of making a false claim to the military's Joint Munitions Command. An alleged bank robber busted. Mark Longenecker taken into custody by Shreveport police at a home on Olive Street. Longenecker is accused of robbing the Regents Bank on Pines Road Monday morning and leading police on a chase. Shooting early today on Lindholm Street in Shreveport. Police say it may be related to an earlier shooting this week. The victim is expected to recover. A teacher strike in Kentucky that led to increased funding for schools and higher pay is inspiring teacher walkouts and stoppages across the South. Louisiana Federation of Teachers Les Landon says 6 years ago, Louisiana teachers were paid about the same as other Southern educators. But in 2018, that's no longer the case.
The Southern regional average is $50,955, so we have fallen $2,000 below the regional average.
Attorneys seeking justice for Glenn Ford continue their fight. He's a Shreveport man who spent nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he did not commit. Before Ford's death, several lawsuits were filed on his behalf, one of which targeted the city of Shreveport and members of the local police department. The Shreveport City Council held a closed-door meeting to discuss the case. Possible lawsuit to be filed against the city and the MPC for discrimination. Judy Negrete planning to file suit against the city of Shreveport, the MPC, and the Caddo Commission for alleged discrimination. Negrette's attorney Allison Jones telling KEEL that MPC Director Mark Sweeney is out of control.
And I think if you look at some of the decisions that have been made there are a lot of questions that need to be asked by the city of Shreveport or the Caddo Parish Commission. Somebody needs to come in and say, A, is this what we want to do for the growth of Shreveport? And B, is this how we want to treat our most experienced employees?
Jones says her client hopes the city and Caddo Parish can fix the issue without the lawsuit having to be filed. Authorities in Toronto calling a Facebook page message posted by the suspect in Monday's van attack cryptic. The message posted by Alec Minisian suggested that he was part of an online community angry over their inability to form relationships with women. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Allison Jones.
Oh, yeah.
From yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
You want to work a 4-day week? You could work. It would be easy for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
At least you could 26. You literally have enough vacation accrued because of your experience, because of the length of time.
Yes.
Because
my longevity.
In all the sales of all the companies that we've worked for in the 20-plus years, you've been grandfathered into each and every one, in your case, grandmothered.
Thank you.
And the point being,
I'm not a grandmother yet.
You have accrued a great deal of annual vacation.
Yeah, I do all right.
Well, instead of taking a week at a time, what you could do is take 1 day at a time. And if you chose to do that, you literally could work 4-day weeks, 26 weeks a year.
Whew, wow. I like a 4-day week. I really do.
You should think of it. Now, the week vacations are gone. But for half the year, you could take every Friday or Monday off.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. I enjoyed being off Monday. Not that I got any rest.
No, that's true.
But see, I like my week-long vacation where I sit on the beach and drink drinks with little umbrellas in them. I really like that a lot. I still need one or two of those a year.
So see, now the plan's gone.
So there goes 10 days.
Yeah.
But I still have a lot. I could do like 10 weeks a year. I like that a lot.
But then you couldn't carry over the 4 weeks every year that you do. She has 18 weeks vacations. 639, it's 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. If you missed the interview with Allison Jones, MPC could be a lawsuit. Age discrimination, that's next. Traffic time. Hey, Rube.
Everything still looks nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Airline Drive near East Texas Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today, sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Well, my client is a long-term employee of the city, the
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, 641. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. KEEL app's a free download presented by Office Furniture Source. So Allison Jones is a local attorney, and she is representing a woman. Her last name is Negrete.
Yes, Judy Negrete.
Judy Negrete, and she is a former, now is she still working for the MPC?
No.
Okay, she's a former MPC employee. And Ms. Negrete claims through her attorney, Ms. Jones, that there was, well, listen, rather than me summarize it all, we chatted with Ms. Negrette's lawyer, Allison Jones, yesterday, and that was basically the opening question. Sort of bring us up.
Explain it to us.
Bring us up to date on this Judy Negrete MPC age discrimination thing.
Well, my client is a long-term employee of the city, the Shreveport Municipal Planning Commission, and has served as a management assistant for close to 8 years, I believe. She experienced, beginning in January of 2016, retaliation and discrimination by her executive director, Mr. Sweeney. I wrote a letter on her behalf at that time pointing out that she and others who were over the age of, in fact, 60, were being told that they were being terminated. And what you had there then was the three oldest, most experienced employees being told they were being terminated and being replaced by younger employees. So when I wrote that letter in January of 2016, the city or the commission backed off of that particular strategy, and she was allowed to retain her job. But she experienced retaliation as a result of that. Her duties were taken away from her. She was told that her job was on the line every day. And then in late 2017, she began reporting violations of state law. She reported payroll irregularities, and amazingly enough, within a matter of weeks after she reported this and reasserted her claims of discrimination, her employment was terminated. And it was terminated under the guise of budgetary problems. However, when you do an analysis of the budget, A, there was plenty of money to pay her. It was a matter of priorities. And B, her job was replaced by 2 younger employees. So I think what we have here is we have very strong claims of age discrimination. And more recently, we have very strong claims of whistleblower retaliation. So what I did yesterday was I filed the charge with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission later last week, and I've pointed this out to the City Council, to the Caddo Parish Commission, and to the Shreveport Municipal Planning Commission to see if we can get it corrected, and if not, then she's going to have to file suit.
Go ahead, Robert.
You said that she was told that she was being dismissed, terminated, etc., because of budget cuts, budget problems. But going back to 2016, when she says the problems began, what reasons was she given at the time for her job being on the line, to use your words?
Well, the initial reason was budgetary constraints, too. And then after she made her complaint, amazingly enough, if you look at the budget, you can find plenty of money in the budget for this. It's just that other people were receiving raises and she was not. In fact, out of all the employees, there was a evaluation process where in order to get a raise, you had to get an Excel on your evaluation. And yet when we looked at the paperwork, we noticed that one of the employees had not received an Excel, but they got a raise, and that the evaluation had been whited out, we believe, by Mr. Sweeney in order to justify that raise, and thus then claim budgetary constraints such that my client and really the other 2 employees who were over the age of 40 and all of your experience in that department was out of there.
Well, let me ask you this. In Judy's case, when she was fired, you said earlier, then she was, for budget reasons, she was fired, but then she was replaced? That doesn't make sense.
By 2 younger employees.
That simply doesn't make sense if it was a budget cut, right?
Well, I agree. And I think that that's something that is, we're prepared to make that inquiry of what is the budget here? How is this budget determined? Who's given the authority to establish this budget? And are you allowing somebody the authority to establish a budget that's using it to retaliate or discriminate? And that's certainly the inquiry we're going to make in any litigation.
I'm sure you've heard the phrase aim small, miss small. The MPC is not the only entity that is aware of this situation, right?
That's right. The MPC is an interesting creature. It's governed by a board that's appointed half by the City of Shreveport, half by the Caddo Parish Commission, and I think there may be another appointee in there. But the bottom line is the City of Shreveport and the Parish Commission can come in and correct this situation. We believe they have an executive director who's a little bit out of control, doesn't have enough supervision. And I think, recently we've heard complaints from the business community about how that Shreveport Planning Commission the MPC is being run and the difficulties they're having getting permitting. And I think if you look at some of the decisions that have been made there are a lot of questions that need to be asked by the City of Shreveport or the Caddo Parish Commission. Somebody needs to come in and say, A, is this what we want to do for the growth of Shreveport? And B, is this how we want to treat our most experienced employees?
So are you and your client considering action against the City of Shreveport and the Caddo Commission also?
Yes. Yesterday I sent a letter to everyone and said, look, you have an opportunity to get this fixed. I've filed with the EESC. I'm getting ready to file suit, but we need a leader. We need somebody to come in and look at this and say, this is not good for Shreveport. This is not good for our community. And it certainly was discriminatory and retaliatory against my client.
What do you have to prove? We're talking to Allison Jones, attorney. What do you have to prove age discrimination or race discrimination? In this case, these are three Caucasian folks is this going to be a race discrimination suit as well?
Yes, the EEOC charge alleges race and age, and because when you look at it, the only targeted employees were your older, more experienced white employees. Now, two have gone, one's retired and one has gone off to find another job, but my client stayed, was committed to this process and to helping the business leaders of this community and wanted to do her job. And so when you look at who's targeted in these alleged budgetary cuts, clearly there's a suspicion raised. In order to prove age discrimination, you have to prove that age was the determinative factor.
That's
there's
tough,
a
right?
but-for test.
Isn't that
I'm
okay?
sorry?
Go ahead. There's 4 tests, you say?
No, that you have to prove that but for her age, she would not have been treated this way. If you look at the allegation that's been said about budgetary constraints, you can clearly challenge that as pretextual when you look at the budget. So then the burden shifts back and forth, and it's a different burden for race discrimination. In race discrimination, you have to only prove that race was the motivating factor. So there's a lot of variables here. We have 3 really strong claims. Her strongest claim, I believe, is that within weeks of reporting payroll irregularities, somebody who was claiming overtime who wasn't working, their hours were 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning when there was no business going on there. Why do you get overtime for that time and what for? Then I think once she reported that, you have violations of state law that she's reported, and then all of a sudden, once again, she's being proposed for termination under a pretext of budgetary constraints. There's a lot of questions to be asked as to what's going on at the Shreveport MPC.
What's the remedy for your client? Does she want her job back? Does she want a settlement? What does she want?
I think my job would like to see the MPC cleaned up. I think she would like for somebody to come in and take control and make sure that you don't have leadership that is not doing the best that it needs to do for the community and for the city. I think she certainly would like to be made whole with respect to her salary. Her salary has dropped almost, I believe, $36,000, maybe a little more. And then, of course, she's experienced emotional distress as a result of the 2 years of fighting all of this within, her role as a manager.
When you say she wants the MPC cleaned up, does that mean that she wants Mr. Sweeney removed?
I think there's no question that my client believes that Mr. Sweeney needs to be removed, but that's not her decision to make. That's the board's decision and or the city of Shreveport's decision or the Caddo Parish Commission's decision. The way it's structured, somebody needs to come in and make a decision as to how this board needs to be run. Now, I understand that today at the city council meeting, there's an ordinance that's going to be considered to restructure the MPC. I'm watching that ordinance with interest. I don't know what decision they're going to make. I'm sure there's going to be healthy debate about that. But, besides meeting the remedies of my client, there's a community here, and particularly a large business community that is very upset as to what's going on at the Shreveport MPC under this particular leadership.
101.7. I never say that, do I? I was just looking at it. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin. Traffic time. Here's Ruben.
We're starting things off nice and clear for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on North Market near North Hearn Avenue. If you know something we don't, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today, sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
7 away from 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. In LHSAA boys playoff action yesterday, North DeSoto knocked off Lakeshore 11-1. Northwood doubled up Livonia 10-5. Benton squeaked by Pearl River 3-2. Not so good news for Minden, knocked off by Warren Easton 8-3. Airline was bounced by Sulphur 6-5, and Houghton's playoff run ends early, losing to Lafayette 8-4. Northwestern State scored 8 runs in the first inning on the way to a 21-0 throttling of Mississippi Valley State. Quan Atkins led off the game with a homer and was joined in the Demon Dinger chorus by Houghton alum Sam Wallace and David Fry, who finished 5 for 5 with 6 RBI and a school record-tying 3 doubles. LSU snapped a 4-game skid with an 8-0 shutout of visiting Lamar. Freshman A.J. Labis went the distance for Paul Maneri, becoming the first Tiger to throw a midweek game shutout in nearly 7 years. Sophomore Josh Smith returned from a back injury that shelved him since February 18th. He had a pair of hits, including a homer. Louisiana Tech's 5-game winning streak came to a halt at home last night to ULL. The Cajuns picked up a 9-4 win, thanks largely to Bulldog miscues. Tech starter David Leal committed 3 errors in the first 2 innings that helped lead to 3 Cajun runs. In Major League Baseball, the Angels beat the Astros 8-7. The Rangers were knocked off by Oakland 3-2. In the NBA playoffs, Golden State advanced with a 99-91 win over San Antonio. Boston now leads their series 3-2 after beating Milwaukee. And the Sixers have wrapped up their series with Miami with a 104-91 win. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Amigo, I agree. I agree with Matt. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Robert and Erin, 656. Do we have Senator Barrow Peacock at 710?
Yes, Senator Barrow Peacock will join us at 710. We're going to talk gambling, Diamond Jacks, the expansion of gambling. The Senate passes one, defeats another.
You can build 1,200 feet from where you currently are. How does that help anybody? How does that help a single casino in the Shreveport-Bossier area than maybe Margaritaville, which is already your largest one?
Yep.
Where is El Dorado going to put anything? Where is Sam's Town? We'll talk about this later.
Yep.
6:57, here's Rush on KEEL.
Times published an article the other day that must have made every liberal reader orgasmic. Silicon Valley billionaires are remaking American screwels. Some of them are offering grants to encourage innovation. Others, like Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, are taking a more profitable approach. He's got software in 100 schools which supposedly puts kids in charge of their own learning and turns teachers into facilitators and mentors. Obviously, if his software takes off, it's a huge market and paid for by taxpayers, not Zuckerberg. Now, while these rich and influential titans of technology are focused on education, millions of students are serving as de facto beta testers. A smile to every liberal. I mean, this has all the elements. Rich, successful, progressive tech gurus on federal subsidies giving back to the community, beta testing their kids. But in reality, this is a damning indictment of the state of public education. With all the money American taxpayers have poured into it for decades, we ought to have the best education system in the world now, not years in the future, and we shouldn't need these tech titans to do it. Instead, we have massive institutional failure, an education system that has been run into the ground by liberals and their unions in the first place. And unless that's acknowledged, new technology, no matter how great, will not turn it around.
Leaders from the local community, the state, and the nation. We have them all.
This is John Kennett. I have the honor of representing Louisiana in the United States Senate, and I just want to take a moment to say, Shreveport-Bossier, we're all so lucky to have Robert and Erin on the air.
We are KEEL, 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
6:59, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update one more time for this hour. Ruben's ready.
The intersection at North Market and North Hearn Avenues dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Old Minden Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today, sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Breaking news.
But dealing with the House of Representatives and funds some needed. But the people in the House of Representatives from North Louisiana.
You care to name names? Who are the ones that are being most obstinate?
Basically, I don't think that's fair, but the people know who they are better. But and said in the same breath, I support LSU, but I'm not going to support the money for LSU.
Mr. Gregg,
look in the House of Representatives. Look at the history of the people. Everybody has to pay taxes.
We had Jay Darden on. We had Mr. Jay on a couple of days ago,
Well, no, it's not a waste of time. Sometimes people get shocked into
people in the House. Well, a lot of those members of the House think the problem with Louisiana is the way that things are structured. Good. Does that mean that you would be in favor of a constitutional convention?
Oh, I'm in favor of a constitutional convention to serve certain issues, to deal with, when we get ready to cut this budget, we don't have any more money.
Senator Greg Tarver, let me ask you one more thing. Nobody can really explain this to me. I'm hoping you can.
Not going to cut rates. The worst part of it, to give you an example. Let me give you examples better. Before you go to DHH, give you example. Let me give you examples better. Before you go to DHH to deal with the Medicaid program, they're going to cut waivers. They know the legislature is not going to cut waivers. You're not going to cut waivers for little bitty kids who are in wheelchairs. They know that, but they'll send you that 10%. And no, you're not going to cut that 10%.
So they're not going to send you real cuts. They're going to send you ones that know that will make your phone ring.
So what you're saying is that if every state department head were told to cut 10%, the first thing they'd cut would be services to the people?
That's exactly right, because they know you're not going to do that.
Could you tell them cut 10% of your staff? Could you do that?
Well, let me say this. We have cut employees in this state about 40%. Well, let me give you examples better. Before you go to DHH to deal with the Medicaid, they know you're not going to do that.
Could you tell them
you're not going to do that?
Three past 7 o'clock is Robert and Erin, 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Erin's got the local stuff, and it's coming up next.
Big decision on the future of Diamond Jacks. We'll talk more about that. A bike accident leaves a man dead. There was also a pedestrian killed in Bossier. We'll talk about that as well. Plus, the MPC legal feud.
Let me do sort of drama voice here. Oh, the future of Diamond Jacks. Senator Barra Peacock joins us in just about 10 minutes. Talk about the future, of Diamond Jacks. Second of all, there's an election Saturday, and nobody talks about it, including the mayor's office.
I've been working on that a while now.
Fletcher in sports, traffic, and weather this hour, and it's here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
The state Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jacks Casino in Bossier City move to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The final vote was 15-18. Now, the Senate did pass a bill to allow the riverboat casinos to expand their operations on land. Opponents argue that an expansion of gaming would lead to more gambling addiction. But Franklin Senator Brett Allain says gamblers will find a way to get their fix, whether we legislate against it or not.
Discouraging people from gambling because we're going to save along. All you got to do right now, go back in your office, get online, and you can gamble all you want. And you know how much Louisiana gets out of it? Nothing.
The measure would redefine the limits on gambling space. Shooting on Lindholm Street early today, one man wounded. Police believe this shooting might be related to a shooting from earlier this week. A bike accident leaves one dead. Police say a man was dead after being hit while riding his bike last night on Hillary Huckabee. Police say the bike rider turned in front of a pickup and was hit and thrown from the bike. A woman driving a minivan then ran over the man, killing him. A pedestrian is killed in Bossier. Matt Parker with that.
One man is dead after being hit while walking on Barksdale Boulevard Tuesday night. Bossier police say the man was attempting to cross the road when he was struck by a car, killing him instantly. Investigators say the accident was unavoidable and no citations have been issued in the crash. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
A lawsuit expected to be filed against the MPC, the city, and the parish. Allison Jones represents Judy Negrete, who claims age discrimination. She claims the MPC fired her for questioning why two of her fellow employees were let go from their jobs. Jones tells us what her client wants as a remedy.
I think my job would like to see the MPC cleaned up. I think she would like for somebody to come in and take control and make sure that you don't have leadership that is not doing the best that it needs to do for the community and for the city.
Jones says Negrete acted as a whistleblower against age and race discrimination and was fired as retaliation by the MPC director. A 15-week abortion ban passes the Senate on a 31-3 vote. The bill mirrors a Mississippi law recently passed that's been halted by a federal judge. Shreveport Senator John Milkovich says 15-week-old fetuses show clear signs of life.
At 12 weeks, babies move away from stimuli. They respond to pressure. And before 15 weeks, the baby can be seen grimacing, yawning, smiling, frowning.
Milkovich says he's well aware his potential law will lead to an expensive court battle, but he says it's a price he's willing to pay. The switch to make Louisiana juries come to unanimous decisions will face a test in the Criminal Justice Committee. Currently, only 10 out of 12 jurors have to agree if someone is guilty of a crime. The proposed constitutional amendment would require a unanimous decision in all felony cases. Christy Smith is the legislative liaison for the Louisiana Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys.
This bill seeks to install the same system that works in 49 other states and that which also works in all federal courts, including those in Louisiana.
Former Explo Systems executive pleads guilty. Lionel Coons, who was an inventory control manager, pled guilty to one count of making a false claim to the military's Joint Munitions Command. Coons was indicted on 31 counts related to the improperly stored explosives at Camp Minden. Attorneys are still seeking justice for Glenn Ford, a Shreveport man who spent nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he didn't commit. Before Ford's death, several lawsuits were filed on his behalf, one of which targeted the city of Shreveport and members of the SPD. Shreveport City Council held a closed-door meeting Tuesday to discuss the case. A man who disarmed a gunman accused of killing 4 people at a Nashville Waffle House got a standing ovation from Tennessee lawmakers. As the Republican-led House honored him Tuesday, James Shaw Jr. said he acted early to save his life and others. Matthew McConaughey says he still supports the students who took part in the March for Our Lives last month, but it appears his support is a bit more qualified. A month ago, he spoke at the march in Texas, but speaking in Vegas this week to promote his new movie, he says he has concerns that the young people behind the effort might be hijacked by those looking to take away everyone's guns. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Ten past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Time for traffic. Ruben's ready.
The intersection at Kings Highway and Line Avenue is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Benton Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Good morning, 12 past 7 o'clock. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. That KEEL app is always a free download from Office Furniture Source. State Senator Barrow Peacock is here. Hey, Mr. Barrow, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well at the state capitol. Been here reading bills this morning, trying to get prepared for committee.
So let's start with Diamond Jacks. It ain't going to happen. Is it dead in the water? Are they here forever? Is there any appeal? What if they want to move? There's a million questions. Where would you like to start?
Okay, well, every bill has 2 chances of passing. So even though it didn't secure enough votes to pass yesterday, the author can bring up the bill again for reconsideration. So when you look at our digest, it'll be for reconsideration today. If the author thinks that they have the 20 votes that it would need to get out of the Senate, that author can bring it back up, which is Senator Bodie White from here in Baton Rouge. I don't know whether he's going to try that or not.
If that does not come up again, is the move of Diamond Jacks dead?
No, of course, Diamond Jacks can move to other areas of the state. The point of having that legislation was it was moving to an area that currently riverboats are not allowed, which is the Tangipahoa River. It could move to Calcasieu Parish or Calcasieu Parish where they have riverboats. It could move on the Mississippi River. It can move down to around New Orleans. There are areas where it could move to Now, of course, any expansion of gaming requires a vote of the people in that parish, so it would have to do that, have a vote, a local option vote, as we had in Bossier when Margaritaville came in.
I was talking to some Diamond Jacks employees who do not want to be named, and they said this boat's moving. They've been told we're done, we're leaving Bossier.
Basically,
are you hearing the same thing?
Pardon me. One way or what you're hearing is one way or the other.
They're done here. Are you hearing the same thing?
You know, I'm down here in Baton Rouge. I hear all sorts of things. So I mean, I think they would like to move to Tangipahoa where there's not any competition, and that failed to pass the legislature. So it cannot move there. Now it can move to another area of the state. I'm hopeful with the passage of Senator John's bill that the gaming market in Shreveport-Bossier has a modernization, that we can start to compete with WinStar in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Let's start. Pardon me, Beryl. Let's start there. You can put a land-based casino within 1,200 feet of your current riverboat position. I understand that correctly, right?
That's correct.
So how is that going to help anybody? How does that help Samstown? Or how does that help El Dorado or Horseshoe, which are so spatially limited as is? How does that help anybody?
It would allow them to move. Say they want to modernize one of the riverboats, bring it on shore, and they'll have more space also. If you look at what Margaritaville now has, it's a one-floor gaming venue. It's much more open and modern. The bill will allow them to have the same number of gaming slots, but a larger space, and allow them to come on shore within 1,200 feet of the river.
Have you gotten the inclination? Have you gotten the inkling, rather, that the casino owners that currently have boats in our area are kind of making plans to expand onto shore as we speak?
I have not heard of any specific plans for that to happen. I think as they modernize, that will be something that they will do, and I think that's something that came out of a 17-month study, that was something that they would like to have as an option moving forward.
Let me ask you this, and we're talking to Senator Barrow Peacock on this
Now, Robin, I have one favor to ask.
You bet.
I have my son Henry and wife Melanie are listening they're sitting in front of Fairfield Elementary, and I usually call them every day at this time and say good morning. So I'm saying hello to Henry and my wife Melanie, and you'll have a great day.
Henry, okay. Melanie, shout out to you. When we say this is an expansion of gambling, WinStar, the ones in Oklahoma, they're 500,000 square feet. It's not going to compete. So why even go there? If you're going to go there, go big. How do you respond to that?
That's a good point. I would hope that having 6 riverboats in the Shreveport-Bossier market, I would much rather come to a regulated gaming venue versus any casino that they're not under the laws of Oklahoma or regulated like the gaming and gambling venues are in the Shreveport-Bossier. You don't know if something happens at WinStar, you're subject to the laws of that casino, and they're not under the laws of they're a sovereign nation. So I would caution people to go to that casino in Oklahoma.
You have said that this will bring in more gambling revenue. How so? I mean, we're kind of. I mean, is it going to really bring in more gamblers? You really think so?
I think with modernization, when you allow the riverboats to come on shore and have more square feet, the gaming machines now are much larger than they were in 1994 when the River Rose came up the Red River and docked there. It needs to be modernized. This will allow it. If you look at what has happened in Lake Charles with LaBerge down there and the Golden Nugget is a $1 billion venue, and they have basically come on shore by digging out and putting water there and pushing barges in. This will basically allow that to happen, but let's do it in a reasonable way and not make the engineering of doing that so difficult.
Have we painted ourselves legislatively, gaming-wise, gambling-wise? Has the state painted itself into a corner competitively by initially only allowing the casinos to be on water?
There could be an argument for that. I mean, that's how it was decided years ago. You know, Mississippi made the same decision, too, to be on water. So that's how it was developed and, you know, evolved over the years, and we are where we are on this issue.
One more thing, Senator Milkovich, I know your friend and colleague. He said he differs with you on this issue. He says gambling is funneling, that's a quote, funneling money from the middle class to financial syndicates. How strongly do you disagree with that comment?
You know, I think that gambling and gaming can be a problem. It can be addictive, and there are funds that are put out there to try to prevent that from happening. You know, the idea is that Shreveport-Bossier needs to be a destination market for mainly the Dallas-Fort Worth, East Texas citizens. We need to bring people into our state for entertainment, and it's worked now for over 20 years. We need to modernize it to allow it to continue to compete, and I think Shreveport-Bossier, given the right framework from the state, can be competitive.
Senator Barrow Peacock, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day.
19 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Head of the State Gaming Control Board, Ronnie Jones, joins us on this same topic at about 10 past 8. 19 past 7 o'clock, traffic time. Here's Ruben on KEEL.
The intersection at North Market and North Hearn Avenues dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Old Minden Road near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today's sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Seven 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. In LHSAA boys playoff action yesterday, North DeSoto knocked off Lakeshore 11-1. Northwood doubled up Livonia 10-5. Benton squeaked by Pearl River 3-2. Not so good news for Minden, knocked off by Warren Easton 8-3. Airline was bounced by Sulphur 6-5. And Houghton's playoff run ends early, losing to Lafayette 8-4. Northwestern State scored 8 runs in the first inning on the way to a 21-0 throttling of Mississippi Valley State. Quan Atkins led off the game with a homer and was joined in the Demon Dinger chorus by Houghton alum Sam Wallace and David Fry, who finished 5 for 5 with 6 RBI and a school record-tying 3 doubles. LSU snapped a 4-game skid with an 8-0 shutout of visiting Lamar. Freshman A.J. Labis went the distance for Palminary, becoming the first Tiger to throw a midweek game shutout in nearly 7 years. Sophomore Josh Smith returned from a back injury that shelved him since February 18th. He had a pair of hits, including a homer. Louisiana Tech's 5-game winning streak came to a halt at home last night to ULL. The Cajuns picked up a 9-4 win, thanks largely to Bulldog miscues. Tech starter David Leal committed 3 errors in the first 2 innings that helped lead to 3 Cajun runs. In Major League Baseball, the Angels beat the Astros 8-7. The Rangers were knocked off by Oakland 3-2. In the NBA playoffs, Golden State advanced with a 99-91 win over San Antonio. Boston now leads their series 3-2 after beating Milwaukee. And the Sixers have wrapped up their series with Miami with a 104-91 win. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Twenty-four past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. So, Senator Peacock, what do you think? Have we painted ourselves? He said you could make the argument for this. We've painted ourselves legislatively into such a corner when it comes to gambling. That I mean, where's Sam's Town going to go? Where's El Dorado going to build? You said, well, we make bigger boats.
They could build them up.
What are you going to have, like a 5-story casino on the water?
But my issue is, they may try to enclose the water, make that land. But will the Waterway Commission let them do that? I don't know.
My point exactly. Did they change Did they change the rules pertaining to the size of your boat, which can only be 30,000 square feet?
I think your idea of using your parking garage to be your casino, but that's scrapping. That's starting over.
I said that facetiously, obviously. I mean, we have painted ourselves legislatively into such a corner. Because nobody saw Oklahoma coming. Nobody saw those tribal casinos. Nobody saw that coming. A 500,000 square foot casino.
That is the flaw in this. And then we're going to, if this all goes through in a couple of years, we're going to look back and go, McCarty was right. We voted to let him expand. We didn't let him expand enough. If we're going to do it, wait a minute. Let's go big. Because I know a lot of people who go to Oklahoma because they bring in A-list talent. These casinos are monstrosities. People are attracted to that. We're just giving ours a little boost. We're giving them a little booster seat in the back seat of the car, where Oklahoma gave them a Lincoln Navigator.
Give me the John Milkovich.
And it's not going to bring in money.
Give me the Milkovich quote again.
The Milkovich was against it because of the expansion of gambling.
Yeah, just read me the quote.
Hang on, I'm trying to get to it. Let me
Yeah, because you just had it with Mr. Barrow. You just read it to him.
John Milkovich, who opposed it, he said, quote, gambling is funneling money from the middle class to financial syndicates.
Okay, he's right. He's 100% right. Now, here's the point.
You're saying this financial syndicates? That sounds like it's the mob.
No, it's big corporation. Look, what Mr. John is saying, and you can set the morality of it aside for the moment and parse his words. He's saying what I and a number of others have been saying. If you depend on Louisiana people, if you depend on Shreveport Bossier to support those casinos, we're doomed.
Right.
We have to be a tourist destination. You know who we want to give their money? Do you know who we want to give their money to, those big gambling syndicates? Tourists.
Texans, yeah.
Anybody.
Come on over.
Come here, leave your money.
Problem with that is that everybody around Dallas that used to come here is now going to Oklahoma because they're bigger, they're brighter, they're flashier. This is not going to change that.
That's where we are. How do we battle that? How do we compete with
You got to be what they're going to. You got to be what, if you're going to serve people Coke and Mountain Dew, but all people want is Coke, and you just try to make a prettier, fancier bottle for your Mountain Dew, people are still going to drink Coke if that's what they like.
So, all these places, all these casinos, all these water-based, river-based casinos, and all those casinos have hotels, And they've got parking garages.
Yep.
And they've got the accoutrement. You've got a huge swimming pool at Horseshoe.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? Where do you go? If it comes down to size matters. Evidently, in the gambling industry, size matters.
Yeah, but you're not going to be... Right now, they're limited to 30,000 square feet of gambling space.
Right.
They're changing that. They're getting rid of that 30,000.
And it's going to be gaming
It's going to be gaming seats.
Right.
But the Gaming Control Board has to define what's a gaming seat.
So back
Is
to
every seat at the blackjack table a gaming seat?
Back to my initial question. Well, look, what I've said about casinos and gambling forever, okay? The game at which you have the best odds of winning is craps. There's 4 craps tables.
Sure.
The game at which you have the least chance of winning is slots. There's 1,000 slots.
Right.
Okay?
But the slot machines, have you seen them lately? They're huge.
And that's the whole point.
And that takes up all the space.
You're losing money by limiting the number of slots. It comes down to the number of slots positions.
Absolutely.
Because the slots have gotten bigger in the space. You used to be able to put 200 slot machines. Now you can put 125 or 130.
Yeah.
And that's what Mr. Ronnie Jones, Gaming Control Board, will talk to us about just after 8 o'clock. 29 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Local news is on the way. Here's Ruben.
The intersection at Kings Highway and Line Avenue is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Benton Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today, sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
The state Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jack's Casino move from Bossier City to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The final vote was 15-18. Meantime, the Senate did okay a measure to let the riverboat casinos expand their operations on land. Metairie Senator Danny Martini says the bill allows the boats to invest more into their properties, which will bring more tax money to the state.
We've got an industry that's providing us with income, thank God, and everybody that's against it sure doesn't shy away from coming to appropriations and asking for some of that money.
Louisiana, the only state that requires floating gambling halls to keep all their gaming operations over water. A bike accident leaves one dead. Matt Parker with that.
Shreveport police say one man is dead after being hit while riding his bike Tuesday night on Hillary Huckabee. Police say the bike rider turned in front of a pickup truck and was hit and thrown from the bike. A woman driving a minivan then ran over the man, killing him. Police say both drivers are cooperating and they don't believe drugs or alcohol was a factor in the crash. From 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
A pedestrian is killed in Bossier. A man is dead after being hit while walking on Barksdale Boulevard last night. Police say the man was attempting to cross the road when he was hit by a car, killing him instantly. A former Explo Systems exec pleads guilty. Lionel Coons, who was an inventory control manager for the company, pled guilty to one count of making a false claim to the military's Joint Munitions Command. An alleged bank robber busted. Mark Longenecker taken into custody by Shreveport police at a home on Olive Street. Longenecker is accused of robbing the Regents Bank on Pines Road Monday morning and leading police on a chase. Shooting early today on Lindholm Street in Shreveport. Police say it may be related to an earlier shooting this week. The victim is expected to recover. A teacher strike in Kentucky that led to increased funding for schools and higher pay is inspiring teacher walkouts and stoppages across the South. Louisiana Federation of Teachers Les Landon says 6 years ago, Louisiana teachers were paid about the same as other Southern educators. But in 2018, that's no longer the case.
The Southern regional average is $50,955, so we have fallen $2,000 below the regional average.
Attorneys seeking justice for Glenn Ford continue their fight. He's a Shreveport man who spent nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he did not commit. Before Ford's death, several lawsuits were filed on his behalf, one of which targeted the city of Shreveport and members of the local police department. The Shreveport City Council held a closed-door meeting to discuss the case. Possible lawsuit to be filed against the city and the MPC for discrimination. Judy Negrete planning to file suit against the city of Shreveport, the MPC, and the Caddo Commission for alleged discrimination. Negrette's attorney Allison Jones telling KEEL that MPC Director Mark Sweeney is out of control.
And I think if you look at some of the decisions that have been made there are a lot of questions that need to be asked by the city of Shreveport or the Caddo Parish Commission. Somebody needs to come in and say, A, is this what we want to do for the growth of Shreveport? And B, is this how we want to treat our most experienced employees?
Jones says her client hopes the city and Caddo Parish can fix the issue without the lawsuit having to be filed. Authorities in Toronto calling a Facebook page message posted by the suspect in Monday's van attack cryptic. The message posted by Alec Minisian suggested that he was part of an online community angry over their inability to form relationships with women. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. I have we've got about 3.5 or 4 minutes in this segment. I wonder if I have time. Hold on a second. Let me dig this up. I found this on Facebook last night, and I need your, meaning Matt's, assistance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Here we go. Okay, so on my Facebook news feed yesterday, you scroll down and you see all your friends' posts, and you see a couple of commercials and stuff like this.
Yes.
And then I come to this one, and it is a picture of former President George Herbert Walker Bush in his hospital bed. And it says, "Pray for George Bush to rot in hell."
Wow, who wrote that?
Now, it was posted by somebody named David Kirsten, Kerstan. So I thought, now I've got about 5,000 Facebook friends, and I don't know, it's just how having a Facebook page in this day and age, if you're on the radio, works, I guess. So I punched on the David Kirsten thing to say, who is this guy? Is he a friend, a local guy I don't know about? And he's not. It's some guy in like Oregon or something. So my question to you is, what does Facebook do to put on my news feed the post of a guy in Oregon who I've never heard of, I don't know, is not my friend, who posted such a vile meme?
If I had to bet money, I would guarantee someone you do know had some sort of interaction with it, whether he was like someone a friend of yours commented on it, because if your friends comment on things or share things or like things or give it the little angry face or whatever, depending on the other person's security settings, it will show up in your feed so you can keep up with your friends' activities.
Now, here's I have two more questions related to that.
Okay.
And the one that just pisses me off the most is there's all these animal abuse videos. And it will say, for example, Matt Parker shared this video.
Yes.
Did Matt Parker really share that video,
Yes.
or is Facebook taking liberties with?
Oh no! If it says someone shared that video, they shared that video.
Okay, so I've been unfriending a lot of people who have been posting like people throwing dog videos, and I unfriend them, and that's legit, right?
Yes, but there is, if you're friends with that person and they share something you're uncomfortable with, whether it be an animal abuse video or whatever, where they're trying to make a point, you can click there's a little option button on each individual post, and there's a, hey, hide this person's timeline for X amount of time. I don't want to see posts like this in the future.
Yeah.
There are options where you don't have to necessarily unfriend them just because they post
one more Facebook question. You and I are watch geeks, right?
Yes.
So I get a lot of watch ads up on my news feed because that's just how it works. But sometimes it will say, Matt Puffenbarger recommends, or or you know what I mean. And the point being that you see all your friends who are suggesting these things and or endorsing them. Are they, if it says Erin McCarty likes Keds sneakers, does Erin McCarty really like Keds sneakers, or have they just taken Erin's name and attached it to that to get me to look at Keds sneakers?
No, Erin actually did like it, but they are using your friends to influence what ads you get fed. So, like you said, you and I are both watch guys. If I like Seiko watches and Seiko starts running an ad campaign.
But if it says Matt likes Seiko, you really like Seiko.
Yes, but the reason that's showing it in that way is that it's an ad campaign, like Facebook runs for so many things, like, people buy things.
My concern was that they were using your name or Erin's name or my name on something else without my permission, but because I've signed up for Facebook, is that one of the permissions that I have given them?
As soon as you like the page and use Facebook, that's one of the permissions you give it, where they can use your name of stuff.
Is it both of those, or is it just using Facebook?
It's just using Facebook, but they're not going to say Robert J. Wright likes Satan's kites or whatever.
Okay. That was my concern.
But they will use you to sell things to Erin if they think Erin will buy
based on my likes,
based on what you like.
Saturday is election day. Why are we not hearing much about this?
It's part of the plan.
Let me explain what's been happening.
It's coming up next, 740, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Here's Ruben.
Just received reports of a minor accident on Terry Bradshaw Passway eastbound near Ellerby Road. And we have some traffic delays on I-20 westbound starting at Spring and Market. It's backed up to Airline Drive right now. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. The KEEL app is a free download from Office Furniture Source. So, if you sat down, think of this now, okay? Think of your immediate family. That's 2. You have 2 sons.
Mm-hmm.
And think of your 3 or 4, let's do 5 closest friends.
Okay.
The 5 people right now in your mind, family or the 5 people who are closest to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were right here and you took a vote, how many of you knew there was an election Saturday?
None of them.
0 for 5.
0 for 5.
I have done that with my friends and or family. And I'm basically like my brother last night. What? I don't know. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What election? Nobody knows.
I think that's part of the plan. So
there
and
are.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I just think they want fewer people to vote.
Is it?
And that's kind of why they put it at this obscure election time.
It's 6 millage. 5 of them are renewals.
One of them we've been paying before, but we've never voted on it before. It's kind of a weird one. It's the 3-tiered police system.
And to be real honest about it, the 5 that people are saying, well, they're all new and they're all illegal because they've expired. They expired at the end of that's the way it's been done. For better or worse.
I think since 98.
For better or worse, that's the way these millages and millage renewals have been handled in Shreveport for a long time.
And where I am on this is I about a month ago, I requested the mayor to come on in the last 2 weeks before the election.
Talk about
bring Brian Crawford in, sit down. We'll give him a full 30 minutes. Let's hash it out. Let's go over it.
Sell us on it. Tell us why you need it.
Why it's
Because
important.
the mayor has threatened. It's doomsday cuts.
Yes, absolutely.
Doomsday cuts if these millages are not renewed and or passed, whichever term you want to use.
And I spoke with her people. And I don't have any people, so I spoke with her people, and was told that she would come on last week and bring Brian Crawford in and all that. Well, last week, I was checking to see what day's good for her, and they said, gosh, her schedule is so slammed. She's been speaking to groups and going out, and she's got other media outlets who hadn't had her in to talk about the millages yet.
What was the explanation?
There were other media outlets that hadn't had her in to talk about the millages yet. We'd already had her in once a while back.
Yeah, like about 6 months ago.
Yeah, and so she was going to get to the ones who hadn't had her yet, and then she'd get us on the schedule for this week.
Right.
So yesterday was Tuesday. I was off Monday, but yesterday was Tuesday, so I called her people again. And I said, look, I wanted to see have you got some time on the schedule? Have y'all picked a day that would be good for her to come in? And I got she's so busy. There's so many things that have come up. There's all kinds of stuff. She's still getting to people she hadn't gotten to yet. And I just don't think we're going to be able to make it happen. I said, we're not going to be able to talk to the mayor about the millages that are on the ballot Saturday. I'm sorry, Erin. She's already talked to y'all. Y'all talked to her a while back. And that she says that should be good still. That information she gave you then is still good. And I believe her schedule's busy. I'm not saying that that they're fibbing or anything. I know she's busy. She's a busy one, and some things have come up. Funerals that she has to attend and all that. But there wasn't even an offer of I'll send somebody else. So the message was not said, and I'm not going to say who I was talking to.
Did you feel blown off?
I didn't feel blown off because they take my call and they call me back and they stay in touch. But I feel like they don't want to do it. They don't want to talk about it. Because if it was important to me to get the message out, I would say, let me send Brian, let me send Mr. Bradford, let me send...
whatever polling the mayor happens to do right.
Keep this low-key, and let city workers go vote.
The fewer people that know about this,
you bet,
the better chance you have of winning.
And I understand that. I get it. If I was the mayor, I'd do the same thing.
Do you think that sentiment of no... We've talked about that before, the Scott Hughes line. That sentiment of no, do you think that permeates a lot of people in Shreveport? Remember now, these are property tax renewals.
Mm-hmm.
And bluntly put, and
$11 million.
I'm not the first one to say this.
Mm-hmm.
There are more people who don't own property in Shreveport than do. And so what that comes down to is the people who don't pay those property taxes can vote increases.
Of course.
Whether or not this is increased depends on your definition of increase or renewal. But the point is that the people who don't pay these taxes can vote for them and foist upon the people who do the burden of taxation.
Absolutely. And you know, if I were the mayor, I'd do the same thing. I'd be low-key. Let's see if I can get, the yeses out, and let's hope the noes sleep in.
But the problem is that there is so much adamance on both sides and such, like I had said before, doomsday scenarios from the yays and the nays. If the yays don't want to come on and explain why
how critical it is,
why the nays are wrong, or what the cuts really will be, or this is going to happen, who are you supposed to believe?
You're right about that. Absolutely. I'm still holding out hope that maybe the mayor will send somebody, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
Election Saturday.
Vote early, vote often.
Yeah, well. I got a million things going through my head. We got to go. 749, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL, AccuWeather.com. Forecast another great day again today. Partly to mostly sunny and warm, high today in the middle 70s, not as warm as yesterday. Right now, 58, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL, 750. Here's your money now. $7:52, time for KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. In LHSAA boys playoff action yesterday, North DeSoto knocked off Lakeshore 11-1. Northwood doubled up Livonia 10-5. Benton squeaked by Pearl River 3-2. Not so good news for Minden, knocked off by Warren Easton 8-3. Airline was bounced by Sulphur 6-5. And Houghton's playoff run ends early, losing to Lafayette 8-4. Northwestern State scored 8 runs in the first inning on the way to a 21-0 throttling of Mississippi Valley State. Quan Atkins led off the game with a homer and was joined in the Demon Dinger chorus by Houghton alum Sam Wallace and David Fry, who finished 5 for 5 with 6 RBI and a school record-tying 3 doubles. LSU snapped a 4-game skid with an 8-0 shutout of visiting Lamar. Freshman A.J. Labis went the distance for Pulmonary, becoming the first Tiger to throw a midweek game shutout in nearly 7 years. Sophomore Josh Smith returned from a back injury that shelved him since February 18th. He had a pair of hits, including a homer. Louisiana Tech's 5-game winning streak came to a halt at home last night to ULL. The Cajuns picked up a 9-4 win, thanks largely to Bulldog miscues. Tech starter David Leal committed 3 errors in the first 2 innings that helped lead to 3 Cajun runs. In Major League Baseball, the Angels beat the Astros 8-7. The Rangers were knocked off by Oakland 3-2. In the NBA playoffs, Golden State advanced with a 99-91 win over San Antonio. Boston now leads their series 3-2 after beating Milwaukee. And the Sixers have wrapped up their series with Miami with a 104-91 win. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
7:55, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert and Erin just after 8 o'clock. Gaming Control Board boss Ronnie Jones.
Head cheese, yeah.
Ronnie Jones talking about some of the updates, the legislative updates to state gaming rules.
And what's going to happen with Diamond Jacks? What are their options now?
Evidently, according to Barrow Peacock, Senator Peacock, that they do have other options. The backers who say that, the folks in the legislature who think they should be allowed to move, they can bring that legislation back up. It was defeated, 18 to 15. Is that a committee vote? Yeah, it has to be a committee vote.
No, it's the full Senate.
There's 33 members of the Senate?
Yeah, it's not that big.
18 to 15, that's the whole Senate? I
think
there
so,
were more than that.
I think that's, there may have been some absent, but I
Really?
think that's it, yeah.
Oh, shows what I know. So they voted no and it's got to get 20. I guess it's there's some percentage involved. So they can try that again. Meanwhile, they have other options as far as moving. See, they wanted to move to Tangipahoa Parish. Parish. And the problem is that gaming is not yet legal there as voted upon by the parish's citizens.
They could pick up stakes and move to a parish where gambling is already legal.
Yeah.
In the Lafayette, Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, or, we shall see what happens with them.
And how many casinos locally have it in their mind to build a land-based casino, and will they attach them to the boats? Talk about that with Mr. Ronnie. And Father Matthew Long from St. Joseph's Parish joins us at about 8:40. Don't have time to explain. I will later. 7:57, here's Hannity.
The truth and nothing but. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
All right, last week, major news broke that the FBI Inspector General recommended the Department of Justice file criminal charges against the former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe for lying to investigators and leaking to the media. Now, this news broke on Thursday, and according to Newsbusters, NBC Nightly News completely ignored the report. On Friday morning's Today Show, while a whopping 9 seconds was dedicated to the news of McCabe, one co-host saying this as federal prosecutors weigh whether or not to prosecute disgraced former FBI Director Andrew McCabe for misleading investigators. Now, NBC did, however, spend 50 seconds discussing a Beyonce fan who learned the singer's dance moves. So glad to see the fake news destroy Trump media have all of this straight.
Keeping you on the straight path. Later today, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
Snoring. It's not funny, and it's definitely not normal. It's actually a sign that you're not breathing properly while you sleep. And you're probably ruining your partner's sleep as well. If you have a blocked or narrow nose, then you're more likely to open your mouth to breathe, resulting in the loud, noisy sounds of snoring. But now, thanks to an Australian innovation called Mute, the answer to your snoring problem may be right under your nose. Mute is an easy-to-use and comfortable nasal dilator that sits inside the nose and supports your airway, keeping it open while you sleep. It helps you breathe more easily through your nose, so you can keep your mouth closed. In trials, 75% of couples reported a reduction in snoring when using Mute, allowing them both to enjoy a better night's sleep. Mute is available now at Walgreens, GNC, or your local drugstore. Find your nearest store at mutesnoring.com. Mute. Breathe more, snore less, sleep.
A minor accident on 3132 eastbound has things backed up from Kingston Road to Jewella Avenue right now. And we're still keeping an eye on that heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up to Airline Drive right now. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
7:59, here's your KeelAccuWeather.com forecast. Partly to mostly sunny, not as warm today, middle 70s. It is 61 right now, 61 at Keel.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning. It's 8:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Erin's got local news way down yonder at the other end of the table. Local news is coming up next.
The Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jacks move to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The gambling expansion vote. We'll talk more about that. And this promposal, most say, went a little too far.
Speaking of gaming and gambling expansion and Diamond Jacks, Ronnie Jones from the State Gaming Control Board is here in just a couple of minutes. Also, Father Matthew Long from St. Joseph's Parish here in Shreveport will be here in about a half hour or so. Let's see. Fletcher Sports, traffic and weather. It's all coming up this hour, and it's right here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
The state Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jacks Casino in Bossier City move to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The final vote was 15-18. Meantime, the Senate okayed a bill to let riverboat casinos expand their operations on land. Franklin Senator Brett Allain says he can't support the legislation because it's an expansion of gaming.
27,850, and they've got 879 positions. If this bill passes, they would be able to go to 2365. If that's not an expansion, I don't know what it is.
Louisiana, the only state that requires floating gambling halls to keep all gaming operations on water. Lawsuit soon to be filed against the MPC, the city, and the parish. Allison Jones represents Judy Negrete, who claims age discrimination. Negrete claims the MPC fired her for questioning why two co-workers were let go. Jones says the problem stems from the executive director, Mark Sweeney.
But the bottom line is the city of Shreveport and the parish commission can come in and correct this situation. We believe they have an executive director who's a little bit out of control, doesn't have enough supervision.
Jones says Negrete acted as a whistleblower against age and race discrimination and was fired as retaliation. Shreveport police on the scene of a shooting early today on Lindholm Street. A man apparently shot. This shooting may be connected to an earlier shooting from this week. The victim is expected to recover. Shreveport police say one man is dead after being hit while riding his bike on Hillary Huckabee. The bike rider apparently turned in front of a pickup truck and was hit and thrown from the bike. A woman driving a minivan then ran over him, killing him. Pedestrian killed in Bossier. The man is dead while walking on Barksdale Boulevard. He was trying to cross the road when he was hit by a car. A man's been arrested in a hit-and-run crash. Matt Parker with that.
Caddo Sheriff's deputies have arrested Steve Brown in connection with a hit-and-run accident on Wells Island Road. According to deputies, Brown called the sheriff's office 3 times, once to claim his truck was stolen, once to say he found it abandoned, and once to say he found a woman in a ditch. An investigation into the incident shows that Brown allegedly made up the story to cover up hitting the woman and fleeing the scene. He has been arrested on multiple charges, including felony hit-and-run. The victim is recovering from her injuries. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Former Explo Systems exec pleads guilty. Lionel Coons, who was an inventory control manager, pled guilty to 1 count of making a false claim to the Joint Munitions Command. Coons was indicted on 31 counts related to the improperly stored explosives. An alleged bank robber busted. Mark Longenecker taken into custody by police at a home on Olive Street. He's accused in the robbing of the Regents Bank on Pines Road Monday. Attorneys still seeking justice for Glenn Ford, a local man who spent nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he didn't commit. Before Ford's death, several lawsuits were filed on his behalf. The city council held a closed-door meeting Tuesday to discuss the case. Teachers strike in Kentucky that led to increased funding and higher pay inspired education walkouts and work stoppages across the South. Federation of Teachers spokesman Les Landon says it's not just about winning a bigger paycheck.
Around the country, teachers are worried about their salaries not keeping up, but also that schools aren't being supported in the way they need to be.
No details yet on the vote count from the LFT. A 15-week abortion ban passes in the Senate on a 31-3 vote. The bill mirrors a Mississippi law recently passed that's been halted by a federal judge. Shreveport Senator John Milkovich says he's well aware his potential law will lead to an expensive court battle, but it's a price he's willing to pay.
I realize it could be stayed, but if we can save 50, 20, 100 babies, I think it's worth it.
The Supreme Court saving one of its biggest cases for last. The justices hearing arguments today over President Trump's ban on travelers from several mostly Muslim countries. And a Florida high school student in a firestorm after his promposal goes viral. He made a sign that said, quote, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you for prom." School officials have spoken to the student and his parents and say they do not condone or support the student's message. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
What's below?
10 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Time for traffic. Ruben is right here.
Still keeping a close eye on that heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up past Airline Drive right now. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road, just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
I got a question for you, seriously, before we get to Mr. Ronnie. Is it just me, or is Matt looking more and more and more like Billy Bob Thornton?
A lot like him today.
Yeah, I thought so.
Has he got somebody's blood around his neck?
I think he does. I think he does.
Yeah.
I think it's his own. 13 past 8 o'clock, 1017 FM is 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Ronnie Jones is the chairman of the Louisiana State Gaming Control Board. Hey, Mr. Ronnie, how you been?
Morning, folks. I'm good. How are you guys?
So, talk to us about the Diamond Jacks thing, the changes in the legislature, the changes in the gaming rules for the state of Louisiana. But let's start with Diamond Jacks. Is it done? Okay. Are they staying? What's going to happen? Any idea?
My sense of the legislative process is things are never ever done until they sine die. I do know that there's a companion bill to Senator White's bill that failed on the floor of the Senate last night, and it's on the House side. And I pulled up the agenda this morning for House committees, and it appears that Steve Pugh, Representative Steve Pugh, who's from Tangipahoa Parish, his companion bill is now on the agenda for House Administration of Criminal Justice to be heard today.
So it's basically Diamond Jacks to Tangipahoa Parish 2.0. Is that basically what that one is?
That's a great characterization. That's exactly what it is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If that does not pass, Diamond Jacks could still move to other areas that allow gambling. Correct?
It's a complicated process because about half the parishes authorized riverboat gambling back in 1996, and the other half did not. Tangipahoa was one of those, kind of an outlier, because it did not authorize video poker, but it did authorize riverboat gaming, despite the fact that there were no designated waterways. So it's like dominoes. You have to have a designated waterway. If the parish hasn't previously authorized riverboat gaming, they have to do that as well. So, hypothetically, if Steve Pugh's bill doesn't get out of committee and that issue would appear to be dead for this session, they would have to wait until another legislative session to try and figure out where they wanted to move that license, if they intend to do that. I don't know. If it fails on the House side, Peninsula Pacific may just say, we're going to improve the property in Bossier City.
Let me ask you this, Ronnie. You just mentioned the waterway. The bill that changes and expands gambling, as folks say, lets the boats move to within 1,200 feet or where they're currently located. What if there's a new boat proposal? Does it even have to be built near or on a waterway in the future?
I'm not sure I understood your question, Erin. Walk me through it again.
You brought up the Diamond Jacks, that they had to be on a waterway. With the legislation that passed in the Senate yesterday saying the boats could now expand to within 1,200 feet of where they currently exist, let's say I want to take Diamond Jacks now and go put it in Tangipahoa Parish. Under this new law, if it's signed, does it even have to be on or near a waterway?
Mr. Ronnie, before you answer, let me take a shot at this and make it sound absurd, and then you can tell me that my mind isn't right. Basically, the legislature has to declare the Tangipahoa River a navigable waterway, so that the people who own whatever boat wants to move there, in this case Diamond Jacks, that they have to apply for a boat site so that they can build a land-based casino within 1,200 feet of a boat they don't have to build. Is that? Do I have that right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's absolutely. The Gaming Control Board still has to authorize a berthing site. That is a physical, finite location that is on a waterway that's been designated by the legislature that's legal for having gambling. All right, so they can move 1,200 feet in onto land from that designated berthing site, but they are still legally tethered to a designated waterway.
The fact that my little tale there got chuckles from both of you sort of dovetails perfectly into the next question. Have we in Louisiana, and we've talked about this before, and you've made this point, have we in Louisiana painted ourselves legislatively into such a corner when it comes to gambling and gambling expansion and boat sites, etc., that when it comes to competing with the mega casinos in Oklahoma, we've just kind of screwed ourselves?
I don't want to use the same characterization you did, but let me just say that the task force listened for 17 months to CEOs, chambers of commerce, economic development folks, all the state entities involved in gaming regulation. And the consensus was, even though Louisiana has the third or fourth largest commercial gaming market in the country, it is soon to be lagging behind competitively Oklahoma and Mississippi. And if this is truly about economic development and creating jobs and putting people to work, then some changes are essential. And the task force believed that at least the conservative start is to permit development on land. And that's what Senator John's bill does.
And it does away with the 30,000 square foot limit. And it is based on gambling seats, slot machine. What do you anticipate the size would change to? Is this going to double the size of our boats? Give me kind of a hint.
No, it depends on its gaming position. And that was done simply because of the changes in available gaming technology. Some of these riverboats have low ceilings. Some can't even accommodate some of the new evolving technology devices that are out there because they're too large. And if you put in a 4-console Britney Spears, slot device, you have to take out, the footprint where you would have 12 or 15 traditional slots. That's the trade-off.
Now this would involve gambling seats. Does that that include?
They call them gaming positions. That would be a position at a craps table. That'd be a seat at a blackjack table, a seat at a poker table, and it's going to be up to state police, the Attorney General's office, working with the board to craft the rules and regulations that define how we count those spaces. But the bulk will be a seat at a slot machine. Is a gaming position.
Let me ask you this, Ronnie. You told us those Oklahoma casinos, some of them are 500,000 square feet. This is making ours bigger, but if we really want to compete with Oklahoma, is this just a drop in the bucket?
This was, we admit this is a conservative approach to changes, but if any of you listened to the debate last night, it barely got out. Some of the folks from North Louisiana were offended that this was an expansion of gaming. So anything that the task force recommended that was more radical than this very conservative recommendation, it probably wouldn't have made it out of committee, let alone to the Senate floor or the House floor.
So let me jump the gun here. One more question, we'll let you go. So in your mind, there are legislators from this area who, if it were up to them, gaming would just wither away and die.
There are senators from North Louisiana who were opposed to this bill and opposed because they saw it as an expansion of gaming. And, we respect that opinion.
Ronnie Jones, head of the Gaming Control Board. I know there's more to come on this. We look forward to chatting again to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie. Great stuff as always.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
21 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. It is time for traffic. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on that heavy backed up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up past Airline Drive right now. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road, just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
23 past 8 o'clock. It's time for Keel Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. In LHSAA boys playoff action yesterday, North DeSoto knocked off Lakeshore 11-1. Northwood doubled up Livonia 10-5. Benton squeaked by Pearl River 3-2. Not so good news for Minden, knocked off by Warren Easton 8-3. Airline was bounced by Sulphur 6-5. And Houghton's playoff run ends early, losing to Lafayette 8-4. Northwestern State scored 8 runs in the first inning on the way to a 21-0 throttling of Mississippi Valley State. Quan Atkins led off the game with a homer and was joined in the Demon Dinger chorus by Houghton alum Sam Wallace and David Fry, who finished 5 for 5 with 6 RBI and a school record-tying 3 doubles. LSU snapped a 4-game skid with an 8-0 shutout of visiting Lamar. Freshman A.J. Labis went the distance for Pulmonary, becoming the first Tiger to throw a midweek game shutout in nearly 7 years. Sophomore Josh Smith returned from a back injury that shelved him since February 18th. He had a pair of hits, including a homer. Louisiana Tech's 5-game winning streak came to a halt at home last night to ULL. The Cajuns picked up a 9-4 win, thanks largely to Bulldog miscues. Tech starter David Leal committed 3 errors in the first 2 innings that helped lead to 3 Cajun runs. In Major League Baseball, the Angels beat the Astros 8-7. The Rangers were knocked off by Oakland 3-2. In the NBA playoffs, Golden State advanced with a 99-91 win over San Antonio. Boston now leads their series 3-2 after beating Milwaukee. And the Sixers have wrapped up their series with Miami with a 104-91 win. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
So I kind of watched a video replay. Where was I at lunch yesterday? God, I forget. 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. So I was watching yesterday, and they had, pardon me, on the big TV screen, they had replaying the Alabama football spring game. And
oh boy!
No, it's there's more contact at a Keel staff meeting.
Except, don't you see Tua wearing the green shirt and all that?
The black one, yeah. He and all the quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, everybody. Don't touch them.
Yeah.
But I mean, like on the kickoffs, the kickoff return guys are wearing yellow jerseys. There's virtual. I'm not going to say there's no contact.
Right.
But it's not the spring game. It's not the game that you grew up with. It's not the spring game and they're wondering why. When you went to the spring, I'm sure that you wouldn't have missed it when your 4 years at LSU.
Oh, we went to them all the time. Absolutely.
And what was the beauty of that? Why did you go?
You just you got up close and personal with the players. You could get right there.
How many people would you say were there?
5,000.
If Alabama had 5,000 at their stadium, it was a lot. If LSU had 5,000, it looked more like 500.
Really?
But you go to watch a football game. You don't go to watch practice.
Yeah,
and
that's
basically, it's a glorified practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a game. It's the purple and gold. It's the crimson and white. Okay, but there's no kickoffs. They don't really tackle anybody. The quarterbacks are untouchable, as are, it's just, I understand they're trying to make the game safer, and who wants your best guys to blow a knee in the spring game and be knocked out for 13 months?
Right.
But the point is, it's really not a football game anymore. So when they complain, when they say about the spring game has lost its luster and we don't know why, it's because it's not really a game anymore.
No.
1017 FM is 710 Keel. Robert and Erin. Local news is on the way. Traffic and weather updates coming up now.
The intersection at Juella Avenue and Lakeshore Drive is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we're still keeping an eye on some backed-up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up past Benton Road right now. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Diamond Jacks is proud to present
The power of information. KEEL News now.
The state Senate rejects a bill to let Diamond Jack's Casino move from Bossier City to Tangipahoa Parish in South Louisiana. The final vote was 15-18. Meantime, the Senate did okay a measure to let the riverboat casinos expand their operations on land. Metairie Senator Danny Martini says the bill allows the boats to invest more into their properties, which will bring more tax money to the state.
We've got an industry that's providing us with income, thank God, and everybody that's against it sure doesn't shy away from coming to appropriations and asking for some of that money.
Louisiana, the only state that requires floating gambling halls to keep all their gaming operations over water. A bike accident leaves one dead. Matt Parker with that.
Shreveport police say one man is dead after being hit while riding his bike Tuesday night on Hillary Huckabee. Police say the bike rider turned in front of a pickup truck and was hit and thrown from the bike. A woman driving a minivan then ran over the man, killing him. Police say both drivers are cooperating and they don't believe drugs or alcohol was a factor in the crash. From 1017 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
A pedestrian is killed in Bossier. A man is dead after being hit while walking on Barksdale Boulevard last night. Police say the man was attempting to cross the road when he was hit by a car, killing him instantly. A former Explo Systems exec pleads guilty. Lionel Coons, who was an inventory control manager for the company, pled guilty to one count of making a false claim to the military's Joint Munitions Command. An alleged bank robber busted. Mark Longenecker taken into custody by Shreveport police at a home on Olive Street. Longenecker is accused of robbing the Regents Bank on Pines Road Monday morning and leading police on a chase. Shooting early today on Lindholm Street in Shreveport. Police say it may be related to an earlier shooting this week. The victim is expected to recover. A teacher strike in Kentucky that led to increased funding for schools and higher pay is inspiring teacher walkouts and stoppages across the South. Louisiana Federation of Teachers Les Landon says 6 years ago, Louisiana teachers were paid about the same as other Southern educators. But in 2018, that's no longer the case.
The Southern regional average is $50,955, so we have fallen $2,000 below the regional average.
Attorneys seeking justice for Glenn Ford continue their fight. He's a Shreveport man who spent nearly 30 years on death row for a murder he did not commit. Before Ford's death, several lawsuits were filed on his behalf, one of which targeted the city of Shreveport and members of the local police department. The Shreveport City Council held a closed-door meeting to discuss the case. Possible lawsuit to be filed against the city and the MPC for discrimination. Judy Negrete planning to file suit against the city of Shreveport, the MPC, and the Caddo Commission for alleged discrimination. Negrette's attorney Allison Jones telling KEEL that MPC Director Mark Sweeney is out of control.
And I think if you look at some of the decisions that have been made there are a lot of questions that need to be asked by the city of Shreveport or the Caddo Parish Commission. Somebody needs to come in and say, A, is this what we want to do for the growth of Shreveport? And B, is this how we want to treat our most experienced employees?
Jones says her client hopes the city and Caddo Parish can fix the issue without the lawsuit having to be filed. Authorities in Toronto calling a Facebook page message posted by the suspect in Monday's van attack cryptic. The message posted by Alec Minisian suggested that he was part of an online community angry over their inability to form relationships with women. I'm Erin McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Hi, this is Troy Jones, Chief Engineer.
.835, Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Okay, so this morning we have had Senator Barrow Peacock talking about Diamond Jacks and the new gambling rules and whether they can move and the 1,200 foot from the shore thing. And then we had Ronnie Jones, who's the chairman of the State Gaming Control Board, talking about basically the same thing. And what do you cull? What do you take from all of this? What assumptions do you draw based on what they both said? And let me start here, because Mr. Ronnie said, Robert, I'm not going to use your precise phraseology.
I wish you would have.
And I said, Mr. Ronnie, basically, and I asked Mr. Barrow the same thing. I said, Mr. Ronnie, have we as a state, have we decided, have we legislatively, when it comes to gaming, have we legislatively painted ourselves into such a corner that when it comes to competing with the big, the mega, the tribal, the $500,000 square foot casinos in Oklahoma, we're basically screwed?
Yeah, and that's what I take away from Ronnie when he says, you know, this was about all we had a chance of passing, was this minimal expansion. If we'd have put in, big mega riverboats or gambling halls,
where are they going to go?
They'd have never passed it.
Where would they go?
The General Motors plant, maybe. That'd be a good spot.
Independence Stadium is vacant a whole bunch of the year.
Fairgrounds Field has got a few bats.
Yeah, my point is this. When John Milkovich says, and I think, I'm not going to say Senator John, is that he's being misinterpreted. But what was his quote? You say about the big syndicate. Pull that back up again. This is awesome.
Yeah, let me see. John Milkovich was against it, saying that he's had a lot of people that have had gambling problems, and it's caused lots of issues. And he said, quote, before the Senate yesterday. He said, let me find it. He said gambling is funneling money from the middle class to financial syndicates.
He's absolutely right.
That makes it sound like it's like organized crime.
No,
You're
it's
sending
just-
your money to Vito.
It's
to Corleone's.
literally the point I have made from day one, at least day one when we were talking about it, and the legislature was talking about expanding, legalizing sports gaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's an industry, sports gaming now. It produces nothing, it builds nothing, it makes nothing. It is literally nothing more than a transfer of money. It's really just a tax.
Yep.
With a lot of social problems.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if we want to have a tax with a bunch of social problems, why don't we tax people from other states? I.e., Mr. John is 100% right. But as we've said 1,000 times, not just us, any number of people connected with gaming, including Mr. Ronnie on the State Gaming Control Board and Representative Glover and a ton of others. If we in Shreveport and Bossier are going to depend on the people in Shreveport-Bossier to make the boats a success, to make casino gambling a success, we're screwed. The way it will be a success is to bring people, is to be a destination, to bring people from other states. Hey, y'all, come to Louisiana, come to Shreveport, come to Bossier, and leave your money here. So if we're going to have basically a tax with social problems,
right?
Let's let the people in Texas or Oklahoma or Arkansas or Mississippi pay it, and not locals.
Yeah.
839, it's 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Father Matthew.
Going from gambling to God.
Well, then maybe we do need Mr. Milkovich. Father Matthew Long from St. Joseph's Parish is here in just a couple of seconds. Traffic update now. Here's Ruben.
The intersection at Juella Avenue and Lakeshore Drive is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we're still keeping an eye on some backed-up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up past Benton Road right now. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sun followed by clouds today, high 77. A couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm followed by clouds and a low of 47 for tonight. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
Good morning. It's 8:42. It's Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. The KEEL app is a free download from Office Furniture Source. For a little bit, Father Matthew Long from St. Joseph's Parish is here. Let me start with the website that you guys have up and going. It's called GodSexAndTheChurch.org. God, Sex, and the Church is a series of seminars, of talks that are based on the current church teachings regarding those things: sex within marriage, birth control, a lot of offshoots of that. But basically, it's not only explaining church rules about God and the relationship to sex, your and my, and the church, the congregation's, if you will, relation to sex in the community, but also whether or not the church is behind the times, and a lot of people say that. Is that a pretty good summarization?
Well, I think it's an excellent summarization, and so many people do think that the church is out of touch. That's one of our catchphrases is the church out of touch? Because we have not continued with society, so to speak. But
let me start here. Is that the worst thing in the world? Look at society. The church is out of touch. I would be going, well, more churches should be more out of touch.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And that's what our whole premise is to reveal through our talks that the church is not only not out of touch, but it's the only one really in touch with what's going on today and how we solve society's ills, not by legislation, but by making people think and having a change of heart and a change of mind.
And the speakers that you have this evening at St. Joseph's, it's Dr. Christopher Manchin, and his talk, the myth of overpopulation. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Well, a lot of people were worried about that, thinking it would be boring, but what we don't realize is that the driving force behind abortion, birth control, all of the things that are going on in our society is based upon what people came to believe in the 60s and the 70s about overpopulation. That if we continued the birth rate as it was at that time, especially in underdeveloped countries, that we would not have enough food, that we would all be starving, there wouldn't be enough land, there would be too many people on the earth.
Instead of putting a tinfoil hat on the Pope instead of that really cool hat that he already has, is there, and maybe I'm politicizing where is there a leftist agenda? And I don't mean, maybe not leftist, but you know where I'm going.
I do know where you're going. I don't want to get into politics because we're told not to as priest, but
and tap dance around my question as best you can.
But I think there is an agenda. It would probably be labeled as a leftist agenda today.
An anti-God agenda, an anti-Christian agenda?
Yes, very definitely. It's there. It's very clear. It's in our society.
Pardon me just a second. I want you to start that answer again, but I want you to look at Erin when you're talking about this, because she's the one that thinks I have the tinfoil hat when I talk about these things, that there are
black helicopters come
that
get
there are
him.
nefarious, godless forces who have a plan and who infiltrate. I'm not the crazy guy here, am I?
I don't think you're crazy.
Perhaps.
At all.
Well, go ahead.
He paused a lot. I like that.
I don't know. I don't know you that well.
You look a little nutty from where I'm sitting.
But I think there's a clear agenda of removing God and placing the state in the place that God once was. And when I say the state, I'm talking about governments, because I think that that's the one thing. I mean, if you look at our Constitution, there are 4 pillars, I think, that uphold our freedoms, and they are the freedom of religion, the right to keep and bear arms, the freedom of the press, and the right to assemble. And if you take one of those 4 pillars out, then we begin losing freedom. And I think the freedom of religion, of course, is the most important one, because if I'm not allowed to worship my God and serve my God in the way that I see fit, then I am no longer free.
Do you see all 4 of those pillars under attack?
I think very definitely. I think freedom of speech is very definitely under attack. We can't say the things. Oftentimes you have to think about what you're preaching on. And I know in some countries, even now, Canada, for example, if you say anything about against homosexuality, your church comes under attack. And we've seen that even here in this country at times. Now, there are some people who are out there on the fringes who say things that are completely inappropriate and not in accord with God, about God hates or something like that. But being able to speak the truth boldly has always been the cornerstone of Christianity.
Who needs to hear these lectures?
I think it would be beneficial to anyone. Our goal is to educate the Catholic faithful first and foremost. But I think that any Christian or any man or woman of goodwill would need to hear them. I think one of the biggest problems in our society today is a lack of dialogue. where we can actually talk about things without attacking one another. And that's the way these talks are kind of geared, is sharing information so that people can think. One of the cornerstones of the Catholic faith is that God gave us a brain and he wants us to use them.
So the series of once a month on the 25th of the month at St. Joseph's, right? Where at your church?
This one's at St. John's
St.
tonight.
John's. I'm sorry, this one?
We're sharing between St. John's, the cathedral here in Shreveport on Jordan Street, and at St. Joseph's Church.
Gotcha. So
we're
this
slipping
evening
back and
is
forth.
at St. John's.
Yes,
Sorry.
at 6:30 p.m.
And the website once again is
God, Sex, and the Church.org.
Org. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a speaker every month running through, I guess, October of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it is definitely a website worth looking at. And we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty. It's 849, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Traffic coming up right now. Hey, Ruben, what you got, kid?
The intersection at Juella Avenue and Lakeshore Drive's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we're still keeping an eye on some backed-up traffic on I-20 westbound. Starting at Spring and Market, it's backed up past Benton Road right now. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today's sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
If it's what people are talking about in Shreveport Bossier, you can bet they heard us talking about it first. The place for breaking news and trending talk is 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
You're listening to American Ground Radio's Morning Minute.
CNN's Jim Acosta says many Americans lack mental fitness and that their elevators don't hit all the floors.
No, Mr. Acosta, Americans are quite mentally fit. They have seen government creep into every nook and cranny. They've seen that they can't choose their doctor anymore, or the curriculum being taught in our schools, or even practice our religion in some instances. And that, my friend, is the reason that Donald Trump is president.
Mr. Acosta may be confusing arrogance with intelligence. I think the American people are at least smart enough to understand he doesn't really like them.
American Ground Radio, where building a better America begins with building a better us. Return each weeknight from 6 to 7 p.m. with Louis R. Abalone and Stephen Parr on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL, and streaming live at KEELnews.com.
Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty, once again for Twin City Appliance online, twincityappliance.com. So Erin says, you're going to have to carry this one. I don't have my copy. I said, why? She said, it's in my purse. I said, where's your purse? She said, it's at home in the kitchen on the floor next to the refrigerator where there's a puddle of water.
Yeah, I'm thinking I need Twin City to come out because I saw a puddle of water right outside the refrigerator.
Uh-oh.
So I'm like, is it the refrigerator? Is it Tiger? Is it the refrigerator? Is it Tiger?
Did you clean it up yet?
Of course I cleaned it up.
So when you go home, if it's back, then you'll know.
Yeah.
Then it will be time to make the call. Twin City Appliance, they repair. They do not sell. They repair all major appliances in your home.
And it might just be a little gasket around the fridge. It'll be a simple fix. They'll come out, take care of it, and on their way.
Twin City Appliance, locally owned and operated for about 1 million years. That's why they're still around, and that's why you can count on them. 318-688-0253. Online, twincityappliance.com. .856, 1017 FM and 710 Keel, Robert and Erin. Anybody on the agenda, on the list, on the itinerary for tomorrow yet?
I have a few surprises coming up. I'm not sure if it's going to be tomorrow or Friday.
Oh, this is my birthday this weekend.
Yeah, you're having a big birthday.
If they don't show up, I won't think ill of any
right,
of you.
and they may cancel because it's you.
Also,
whose birthday?
You told me it was massive. Yeah, I'm not
I thought it was mine. Yeah,
screw that guy. There's an election on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And nobody from City Hall wants to come on and talk about it.
Anybody from City Hall is invited. The next 2 days,
just show up.
Come on, show up.
Just knock
walk
at the
in,
door.
City councilman.
Send us a text. Tell us why it's a great
good.
idea.
Yeah, why we need to support these.
Because they
just want to keep this quiet.
Why do you think that is?
I would do the same thing, to be honest with you. Just let my city workers go vote on it, and then let's let the naysayers forget about it.
More tomorrow morning. It's 8:57, 1017 FM, 710 Keel, and Kim Commando.
Next time you park your car, think about this. Everything needed to steal your car in less than 2 minutes is for sale right now on Amazon and eBay. Kim Commando with your Wednesday Consumer Tech Update. If you want to steal a car, first, shop at Amazon and eBay. There, anyone can buy two of the most common and inexpensive electronic devices they need to go into the car stealing business. One device relays a signal from the owner's key fob inside the owner's home and unlocks the car's doors. The cost, under $50. Wrapping your car keys in aluminum foil stops these thieves, by the way. But even more insidious is a $100 electronic device that programs any blank electronic key to whatever car is to be stolen. This product was intended for locksmiths and car dealers. Blank electronic keys cost as little as $8. There are many low-tech tools to steal cars and trucks, but just because you can buy the electronic devices online doesn't mean that you should. I'm Kim Commando. It's vital to protect your home and family with a home security system without sacrificing your privacy. That's what I love about SimpliSafe. You'll get an HD camera that you control from your phone. You'll see what's going on when you're away, which is great. But what about your camera and your privacy when you're at home? SimpliSafe has a solution. When the camera's on, you'll see a small indicator light. When it's off, so is the light. SimpliSafe designed this camera with a privacy shutter. When you hear it click, you know the shutter's closed. Even the world's best hacker can't see through SimpliSafe's thin, lightweight aluminum privacy camera shutter. It works every time. It's details like these that set SimpliSafe apart as the best security system for your home, your family, your peace of mind, and your personal privacy. SimpliSafe isn't just home security, it's home security done right. So check out SimpliSafe for yourself today at simplysafekim.com. That's simplysafekim.com, simplysafekim.com.
The intersection at Midway Avenue and Mansfield Road's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we're still keeping an eye on some backed-up traffic on 3132 eastbound between Kingston Road and Juella Avenue. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Today, sun will be followed by clouds and a high of 77. There'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm this evening, then clouds tonight, low 47. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.